GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday, the 12th of November, and we have another new all-time high for Bitcoin made yesterday. I think also today we went a little bit higher, and we've actually come up to our target. So we have hit our 1.618 Fibonacci extension off this range that we were in over the majority of this year. So that was coming in at 88.8 thousand. We've pushed up towards the 90,000 level. So really happy with that call. We said really that we've been bullish and just to stay long into that target. We have been saying that we think we're going to go higher, or I have been saying that I think we're going to go higher. And that's exactly what we've done into that sort of 88 to 90K level. So congratulations, anybody that was sort of holding a position into that level. And now we're starting to see price pull back a little bit on Bitcoin. I personally am not too concerned. I think this is likely just to be a fairly short-term leverage flush. I don't see anything that's giving me sort of great concern, but you never know. I mean, this could be the start of a deeper pullback. And look, I think if we were to pull back, we could pull back a little bit lower from here, maybe to the midpoint of this expansion candle we had yesterday. Obviously, if things do start to sort of pick up on the downside, potentially we could be looking at closing the CME gap, which is down at around 77,000. That's obviously on the CME futures. So that I think is potentially one scenario that could play out. And look, I mean, we've come up to the target here. We've come up to this 1.618 and we've come up to the 90,000 level. So I think it's normal that we're going to see a bit of profit taking here. I took some partial profits on a couple of my Bitcoin longs myself. So those were taken sort of yesterday evening at around sort of 89, 90K. So yeah, I do think there's potential for us to pull back a little bit, but how low does that go is kind of anyone's guess. Like I was saying yesterday, I kind of think that sort of bids kind of down to 73,000 from like say 79 would kind of make sense. I don't know if those bids will even get filled here. I don't personally think that we're going to retest this 73,000 level. I've kind of said that the strongest breakouts don't always result in retests. And for me personally, when we had this sort of move to all-time high, the retest kind of came of this descending channel line. If we go over to my other Bitcoin chart, we can see this a little bit more clearly, how we sort of come up, we sort of retested and then we pushed on and went higher. So for me, that was good enough as a retest as we were going to get. And yeah, I think, look, we could pull back a bit further. Like I say, the CME gap around about that 77,000 would be an obvious level to pull back to at some point. But yeah, I mean, just looking at how much of a pullback that would be from where we are now. So yeah, it would be around about 14% pullback. I mean, we expect these pullbacks to happen, but also I'm thinking to myself, look, it could be that we just push on higher first and come up to around the 100K level as well. I mean, remember, this has been a massive consolidation. This has been literally from March all the way to November, so an 8-month range of consolidation of price sort of coiling up. And we've just now obviously seen things break out and explode to the upside. And it's unlikely that we resolve such a long consolidation within the space of a handful of days, a week's worth of price action. It's likely that actually this goes on a little bit further, I think, until we see a more sort of meaningful, more deeper pullback. And I mean, it could be that, let's say, for example, we come up to around the 100K level. We might spike through, but let's just call it around the 100K level. If we were to see one of Bitcoin's more typical pullbacks, let's call it 22% would take us down to that 77 area. and we'll close that CME gap. So maybe we see something like that. Maybe we consolidate here and then come down to close it. Maybe we push on through to around 100K, potentially get everybody excited and go through that, only to then sort of come back down and fill the gap. Or maybe we don't close that gap until the next bear market. Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen, but obviously, everything's bullish right now, sentiment's bullish, and there's more and more news coming out of developments around Bitcoin, especially in the United States. Obviously, Trump has really set this market on fire, and all of this talk around a Bitcoin strategic reserve. You've got people going on news channels now talking about Bitcoin strategic reserve. US government wants to purchase 1 million Bitcoins. I mean, obviously the market is completely lapping it up, and it's hard to see, the bid going anywhere. It's hard to see capital not continuing to pour in to Bitcoin and the other crypto assets. So again, I'm noticing around me, a lot of people are very cautious. A lot of people are calling for pullbacks and calling for dips and saying, look, I think that the price is probably going to go low. It's a really nasty pullback, and at some point they will be right, and that will happen. But don't fight the trend. And I wanted to say don't fight the Fed, but don't fight Donald Trump. I mean, he's not a good guy to to bet against right now. I mean, yeah, I just, yeah, it can happen, and always be prepared for that. Or, I mean, I think the correct thing to do is to be fully prepared for some sort of flush down to this 77K level. Like I say, that'd be a 14-15% move on Bitcoin. That could be as much as a 30% decline in altcoins. So yes, be prepared if you're trading Bitcoin, if you're trading alts, but also we could just consolidate here, reaccumulate, and make another push higher towards 100,000. And also, on the 12th of November, Bitcoin, we've seen this year, we've seen Bitcoin typically perform better in the second half of the month. And yeah, I think that there's a good chance that, like I say, Bitcoin potentially just consolidates, maybe makes a little bit more of a dip lower, but over the medium term, well, probably the short term too, beyond a day or two. But yeah, over pretty much every time frame, I'm expecting higher prices for Bitcoin. So I'm not too concerned right now. Let's see how it plays out over these next couple of days. I think sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, midweek would probably be an ideal time for Bitcoin to sort of pull back a little bit. And then let's see if we can potentially finish the week strong and set ourselves up for obviously that push to 100K later in the month. So that's Bitcoin. Looking at Ethereum, Ethereum still very strong. We've tagged this 3,400 level today, and yeah, I've said for the last couple of weeks now, I expect Ethereum to be the catch-up trade, and it definitely is catching up. It's absolutely exploded ever since the election, and it's just been sort of straight up sort of green days ever since. So yes, Ethereum could also consolidate and probably take a bit of a breather here. I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world, as long as we stay above this 200-day moving average. So I'll probably say downside target on Ethereum would be around between the 3,000 and 2,950 level, where that moving average is coming in. If we just actually measure what that would be in terms of Ethereum pulling back, I mean, you're looking at a similar downside to Bitcoin and closing the gap. So that would be basically a 14% drop in Ethereum too. So, if Bitcoin does come down and closes the gap, potentially, Ethereum might wick a bit low. It might wick back into sort of 2,800, scare a few people by coming below this 200-day moving average, and then obviously recapture it and sort of push on higher in synchronization with Bitcoin. And Solana, well, Solana has came back down today and has literally performed almost a perfect retest of the past all-time highs. So yeah, there's every chance that Solana sort of pulls around here. If, of course, the market does pull back a bit further, then Solana potentially it could come down to this trend line that's broken out from, again, 13%, 14%. That seems to be, what we'd be looking at in terms of a pullback on the majors. Of course, it might come down a bit lower. That there might be liquidity below that trend line, and it could come back down and retest this high here, which would be about 17, 18% move. If we just look at Ethereum and see what move it would pull down to, yeah, the 2,800 would be about 80% move. So, yeah, potentially if Bitcoin comes down to close the gap, we could see those sorts of moves happening for Ethereum and Solana. So that is probably what you should prepare for. But like I say, I'm not interested in taking profits just yet. I'm looking to hold things for higher prices. S&P slight pullback on the day, obviously new all-time highs yesterday. Same with Nasdaq. So bit of pullback and consolidation here, totally normal. And the dollar continuing to show strength. And if we just take a look at dollar here, obviously we can see that we're forming a bit of a descending channel here. So let's just draw that on. We connect the highs. So we've kind of come into this descending channel. So I would say I'm expecting probably the dollar to stall around here. Obviously, we've wicked through right now, so it could be that the dollar does push in to sort of this high. This would be the next high, around about this sort of 106.2 area. So let's just put that on the chart. Around about there. So yeah, I would expect dollar to find a bit of resistance around this area, but I mean, I've been calling for resistance here. Obviously, we got the election. I was thinking maybe the 786 would do it. So, very difficult right now to sort of call a top or a reversal in the DXY. But obviously, like I said previously, it's encouraging to see the DXY strong and Bitcoin also strong. Obviously, the stronger dollar right now is not having a big negative effect on Bitcoin. Obviously, you could say that, well, dollar's up today and Bitcoin's down, sure. But I mean, look at the last few days. So, yes, I'm going to leave it there. Like I say, just to recap, Bitcoin looks like it's starting to pull back a little bit. Nothing to be too concerned about for now, but obviously I've mentioned what would be, I think, my sort of worst case pullback targets in terms of around about 77 for Bitcoin, 2,800 on ETH, and obviously Solana potentially coming down as low as 180. So yes, just be prepared for some volatility over the next few days, but in terms of the more sort of medium term, nothing's really changed. Bitcoin's looking very strong, and we've seen a reaction from our sort of initial target here. But I do think that over the next few weeks that Bitcoin will probably resolve higher, and we'll get some continuation towards 100,000. So that's it for today. If you have liked this video, please do hit a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. Like I say, got some extra videos coming up this week. There's going to be some more videos around meme coins. The next video will likely be on Solana meme coins and looking at more medium and lower cap meme coins. So if that sounds good, please do subscribe because you don't want to miss out on the alpha, and have a fantastic day, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow. GM.